what could you do from a leadership standpoint to try and bring us closer together?
Well, I think the first thing, and one of the reasons that I think I'm the right candidate, is I am that independent. I don't have decades of loyalty to a party or decades of running and being elected representing a specific party. That's because I have my own compass. Mm-hmm. Some people don't like that, and they feel like you are either, like, if you are not with me, you are against me. And that has been when I've been out meeting people and the topic of county government comes up, and as soon as they, you'll talk about it and they'll say, if that person says, I attended a county board meeting, I stop breathing, because there are a couple in my mind that I think, if you attended that one, A, let me apologize, and B, let me explain that this is why this is why you experienced that. That's the opposite of county government. Yeah. That's this politically charged, partisan, angry, nasty. Yeah. And I think that one of the things I do think leapfrogs over some of that is if you are transparent about data. Data, when it's presented with strength, is agnostic of emotion. Now, you can add a bunch of stuff to it. Yeah. But if you start the discussion, and that's why I believe that the specific committee meetings every month should start with a glance at that dashboard. So the first thing we talk about is where we are tracking against what we said our goals were. Yeah. It doesn't do all of it. Yeah. I think that just consistently reminding people, county executive is a nonpartisan role. Yep. Every single seat on the county board of supervisors is a nonpartisan role. It has become dramatically partisan, and the thing that is probably most disheartening to me is to see how that plays out, because it means that you typically will have blinders on when someone does something that, if someone's on your team and they do something you don't like, you're okay with it. Yep. And it also means that you instantly disregard something that someone on the other team brings up. Even if it's a
good idea, even if it could work out.
Even if it's a really good idea. Yeah. And if you look at at least the past 2 years, you will see votes where you would go, how could someone not support something? Like, how could you do that? But then if you look at who originated it, there's this side. And I get yelled at by people, pretty much every meeting, one of my colleagues will, how dare you do that? Yeah. But my compass is to serve the citizens, and what you're talking about goes against that. Yeah. And it doesn't mean I want to agree with this person any more than you do, right. But the genesis and the nugget of what they're achieving is good. Yeah. And so it is embarrassing if people have only attended a couple of those meetings that were so horrible. That is definitely not what I want people to walk away thinking is county government. And that's something that we have. People may not want to talk about this, but people globally know Kenosha. Yeah. And maybe not for the right stuff. Right. And that is something that we have to recognize, and we have to build a culture that we socialize that says, yeah, that stuff happened, but we can do these things. Yep. Because it absolutely impacts economic development. Yep. It impacts the way we move forward as a community. It impacts, funding. It impacts everything. Yeah. And so I think we have to be like, we can be this thing.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, where even to try to bring people together, where you can say, we are known for this, maybe not the best reasons, but that gives us an opportunity to make some real change. And we could, if we do this right, we could be a model for many different counties, many different states, whatever it may be. And I think something like that, where people would be like, I could be a part of something like that. I could be a part of that real change. And that comes down to having someone that, like you said, understands the data, can explain the data correctly, and then people can make logical decisions rather than emotional decisions. Because, emotion seems to a lot of times affect what we're going to be deciding. And if we can sometimes realize, if we can, one, realize that, and then two, say to ourselves, okay, we're going to pull back. Let's logically think of this. Let's take a second to logically think about this and make decisions. And I think, again, too, having this culture of like, hey, you can be on this side, but you can still agree with this person and think what they're doing is the right thing to do and vote for it, and not even be, backlashed at because you're doing that, because it is, it shouldn't be. To me, we're all more down the middle than we are left or right or whatever the politics may say.
Absolutely.
And I think too, a very good point, which, even I've mentioned to people that the county board position and the county executive positions, that they're nonpartisan. And people are like, oh, they are? Like, even people don't even understand that. So when they go to the voting booth, they may be saying, well, is this person this way or that way? And that's the way I'm going to vote, when that's not even what this position is really for. So
one of the things I love more than anything, and it's probably the thing I talk about most, if you've ever met me, I have probably pretty quickly asked you if you have ever considered hosting an international exchange student. Because I do it every year. It's given me my sons. I love it. And it's a really unique perspective. So every year, I have a new 16, 17-year-old young man that joins our home, goes to Tremper for a year, and brings a whole new series of why is it this way questions. And coming into this year, we weren't able to do the program last year, but coming into this year, our son that's here from Berlin, he will share with you that he had hesitation when he heard he was coming to Kenosha. And we bring 50 kids to the Milwaukee area every year, and every single one of them, and these are kids from Asia, from Europe, South America, had heard of this. And so, as I tend to do, I get really involved. So I'm responsible for the education that these kids have to have while they're here.
Sure.
And when they arrived in August, the first thing they do is we have this overnight camp, and we talk about the rules, and then we also talked about Kenosha. And so it was very important for me to give them a different perspective. And so at that arrival, I had brought in, I won't name names, but a really prominent business owner, small business owner, a gentleman who's on the city council for Kenosha, a member of law enforcement, someone from the county executive's office, and so 5 people who would sit there and not talk about what happened, but talk about what do we do after that and what have we done after that. And it was such an amazing experience for those young people to hear that.
Sure.
The more important and the most transformational thing was for those leaders to hear people with a global perspective question what happened, how do you move forward, and even question like some of the terms we use that we throw around that based on their culture, like, no, what you're talking about is not that thing. It's, it may seem like it. And I think those, like you and I talked about, I truly believe you can solve anything if you cook for people and get them together. And I think you have to have, those are not easy discussions to have. They're painful. And they're frightening. But I think they're so required to move forward. And I think that when you see it, and one of the people that was on that panel, I know, like, when I've had interactions with that person since then, I've seen a change in how they talk about things based on what they heard. Like, that's how you
grow. It's the good experience.
Absolutely how you grow.
It's the good experience. And I think, too, those difficult conversations, the ones that are uncomfortable, the ones that, you're going to be towing a line a little bit, I do think you find commonality with people in those. And a lot of the times the commonality is like, we want to be safe. We want to have opportunity. We want to be loved. We want all of these like very positive things, and we can agree on those things. And it comes out of those tough conversations. Like, we are very similar rather than different. How we want to get there may be a little different, but we all want the same things when it comes down to the core of it.
I'm told that in years past, there are plenty of people that are on the board of supervisors that have done it for a while. I am confident in this, but I'm told that there definitely was a time where you would have a county board of supervisors meeting, there'd be debate. It might be heated debate, might even get personal, but when the meeting's adjourned, everybody went and like got a beer together.
Yeah.
That does not that is not.
So there's your culture, right?
Yeah.
There's
And
the culture
that's
that-
unfortunate because it leads to, it means that not only in that room do you have that division, but when you leave that room,
Stays.
you also have it.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's even a bigger problem. You socially
Yep.
divide, and you don't.
Yeah.
That's the harder one.
Yeah.
But I think it has to be that we all have to talk about it.
Yeah.
We have to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And like, no, we're not. We don't allow this.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot where, where if you're having something like a board meeting and you can talk outside those walls. You can ask how the wife or husband is doing. You can talk about the kids or struggles that you're going through in life or the awesome positive things that happened this past week, like sharing those things with each other. And like you said it, the biggest thing is being vulnerable. You have to be willing to be vulnerable. And that's tough to do because once you become vulnerable, you can become a target, but we have to have some faith in individuals as humanity that if we're going to be vulnerable with each other, it's that thing to open up, not to be used against me. It's to explain who I am and what I think about things.